Good afternoon and welcome to Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette, broadcasting live via SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. Welcome here in beautiful Cape May County, New Jersey. And welcome people who are loading up in the chat there. And I see Facey change their format a little bit. Welcome Ron and Lloyd and Georgie, Patricia, Todd, Chris Gaines, Paul, welcome. And it's actually kind of cool. Welcome, Martha. Kind of cool that they made your names a lot bigger, I think. I just wish Facebook would like warn us before they do stuff like that. They probably did, but I don't know. Anyway, I just noticed that the platform is like completely different. Hi, everybody in the Facebook chat. For those of you who are listening via SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio, welcome to you as well. I'm just giving some shout outs to folks that are in the Facey chat. As you know, I stream live. I stream live on Facebook. My guest today, whom I heard from her earlier today. We talked about like looking forward to speaking to each other, but I haven't heard from her here recently. I'm sure she will appear momentarily. Is Michele Rigby Assad, author of, she's a former CIA intelligence officer, security consultant, and author of the best-selling book, Breaking Cover: My Secret Life in the CIA and What It Taught Me About What's Worth Fighting For. Man, and she is just, she's been on the show before. This is actually a return to the show, and I'm super excited that she's here. Very, very excited that she's here, or will be here very soon, I'm sure. If not, I will try to catch up with her during the break and see what's up. But anyway, really looking forward to having her on the show. She's an amazing woman. She's just amazing, and I'm privileged to know her. So I can't wait to talk to her. But in the meantime, we have some housekeeping to do. The rest of the week's schedule, I thought I'd mention that. Tomorrow's going to be a re-air because I have political obligations to fulfill. I am, as some of you know, very active in the Republican Party, including being the vice president of the New Jersey Federation of Republican Women, and I have some duties to take care of tomorrow, so I'll be in some kind of meeting or whatever, something tomorrow night. So someone asked me to go to. So tomorrow is going to be a re-air, and then on Wednesday, happy Valentine's Day, everyone. On Wednesday, I will have author and education consultant Dr. Stephen Jones is going to talk to us about all the ins and outs of financing education in more ways than one. So I'm excited to have him on as well. I'm very, very excited to have him on. It's just amazing the people that I'm able to get on my show. Seriously, I just feel so blessed. So that's going to be on Wednesday. Then on Thursday will be another re-air because I have some meeting somewhere for something. I don't even know what meeting that, honestly, what meeting that is, but I have a meeting. I want to say Union League. It's on Thursday. So Thursday will be a re-air, and then Friday I am going to have Kirill Ravensong back, who's our crypto guy, one of the crypto experts that we have on. And so I'm looking very forward. I have a lot of questions to ask him. We're going to talk a bit about Bitcoin mining and things like that. But I also asked his publicist, I'm like, will he be willing to talk about the recent, volatility in the crypto market? And she said he absolutely would be. So I'm excited that I'm going to have Kirill back on the show this coming Friday. So that's what's going on for the rest of the week. If you're not following me on my any of my social media, my Twitter handle is @MoneyTalkMel. You can follow me there. My show page right here on Facebook is Money Talk with Melanie, and you won't miss the lives because I always post the lives to the Money Talk with Melanie show page. So you don't have to worry about that. And on the show page, there's exclusive content. I'm always posting all kinds of finance articles and things like that you may not be aware of for people who like the page. And also, same thing on my Twitter account. Now, if you really are feeling adventurous and you want to follow my personal Twitter account where all the real fun is at NJGOP Diva, you may certainly do that as well. Okay, what else? If you'd like to be a guest on the show, do email me at moneytalkwithmelanie@gmail.com. You're an author, own a business, run a business, you're CEO, economist, know anything about money, or an expert in anything related to money. You may be thinking right now, what does she mean? She has an author who's a former CIA counterintelligence officer. What does that have to do with money? Well, boys and girls, the United States spends $100 billion with a B per year on counterterrorism efforts. So those are your tax dollars. So I would say that what Michele has to offer, Michele Assad has to offer in regard to her experience and what exactly it is that they're doing over there would probably be of interest to where that $100 billion of your tax money is going. So there's the framework for that. So if you'd like to be a guest, do email me, and I'm happy to take a look at that. That would be great. Now, what else? Do have some money talk news. Things good. The stock market rebounded today, big time, right? I don't know what it closed at. Somewhere around, I believe it was 550, somewhere in that neighborhood, which is good news. And you know, somebody said to me, actually, it was earlier today. What about the stock market taking responsibility? Was Donald Trump taking responsibility for that? And I'm like, that was called a correction. But it's always people who are just listening to the mainstream media and not, you know, and frankly don't know anything about economics. If you're looking at our economics, our fundamentals, first of all, we're getting back to, you know, normal economic environment where we're not, you know, printing money left and right through quantitative easing. Where, you know, we have the lowest. Thank you. Oh, it closed at plus 410. Thank you, Chris Gaines. Lowest unemployment rate in I don't know 18 some odd years, but specifically for African Americans and Latinos. Not that I'm going to keep it real with you about this. I don't even like that stat, but it's a I don't like to do the color thing with the stats. But it's a necessary. It's in light of, hi Donna McCleary. Speaking of doing the color thing with stats, it's a necessary thing for my good friends like Donna McCleary, who don't believe that President Trump is good for the economy when the unemployment rate for African Americans, as I just said, is down the lowest in 18 years. Just saying. So. Something to consider. But I don't even like doing the color thing as far as those things are concerned, because if Americans are employed, then we're all Americans in my book. That's just crazy me. That's what I think. I think we're all Americans that happen to be whatever color we are or wherever, you know, our ancestors are from and things like that. And I just think it's a good idea if we all kind of start thinking that way, so we're not so divided. That's just a personal opinion, my personal utopia that I live in. I think if we all started doing that, the world would be a better place. But just my opinion. Now, President Trump unveiled his infrastructure plan today, and according to the Wall Street Journal, at least, the White House proposed a $200 billion plan in federal spending. That's over the next 10 years. And they're hoping that will spur $1.5 trillion in new infrastructure investment. So that's what you need to understand about that. We've been hearing about this $1 trillion infrastructure plan, but that's not all federal dollars. You know, the only part which it's not like that's not a lot of money. That is certainly a lot of money. But it's a plan. And listen, we're not talking about shovel-ready jobs like with the Obama plan. I'm conflicted. We need the infrastructure, but you know that Obama infrastructure plan went totally bust. But I suspect since we have a builder in the White House and someone who, what's the words I'm looking for, actually knows what he's doing, that's not going to happen with this infrastructure plan. At least that's my prayer. Okay, You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. We're going to go to break, and I'm going to see if I can grab Michele Assad in one moment. We'll be right back.
Sponsored by the Tri-County Liberty Coalition. If the Russians should not be allowed to interfere in our elections, then why, oh why, do the leftists have no problem with illegal border crossers voting in American elections? Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, as Robert can't find a real collusion, Mueller continues in vain to try and find non-existing evidence linking President Trump and the Russians in an effort to influence the presidential elections. I find it ironic that political leftists like Nancy Pelosi, who stood for 8 hours speaking on behalf of illegal border crossers, and California Governor Jerry Moonbeam Brown, who, like Pelosi, considers the rights of illegal border crossers and dreamers to be more important and above the rights of U.S.-born sovereign citizens like you and I, and don't have a problem with illegal border crossers voting in American elections. It is a shame that the policy agendas of the Democrats are so awful that they must rely on allowing illegal immigrants and their dreamer offspring votes in order to cling to political power so they can carry out their dastardly deeds of legislative destruction of our constitutionally limited republic. But try as they may, those hypocrites will ultimately fail, and we shall rejoice as the land of justice for all.
We're live on Facebook, but right now the commercials are running.
Okay.
Give me 1 second.
Do you want me on video? The new of America. Who likes paying taxes? Nobody. That's why
that's okay. Audio's fine.
TaxMama.com wants you to pay less of them. Read Small Business Taxes Made Easy and learn how legally hiring your spouse and children can slash your taxes. Learn how to set up a business plan that minimizes taxes, the benefits of setting up an exit plan, how to avoid getting audited, and how to legally increase your deductible expenses with better record-keeping techniques. Don't let the IRS squeeze you out of every penny. Visit TaxMama.com. Click on Ask a Tax Question to get free answers to your tax and business questions. That's TaxMama.com.
My name is David Barnett, and I've been helping people buy, sell, small and medium-sized businesses since 2008. So far this year, I've gone on 5 vacations. It's because I've got my own business. When you get tired of being managed by someone else and you decide that business ownership is right for you without the risk of starting your own unproven enterprise, then come over to businessbuyeradvantage.com. There are over 100 YouTube videos on buying and selling businesses that you can watch for free. That's businessbuyeradvantage.com.
And welcome back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette. And as I said earlier in the open, my guest today is former CIA intelligence officer and security consultant, and most recently best-selling author of the book, Breaking Cover, My Secret Life in the CIA and What It Taught Me About What's Worth Fighting For, Michele Rigby Assad. I'm so happy to have her today. Let me tell you a little bit more about her background. She joined the CIA in January of 2002 and spent a decade working as an undercover intelligence officer in the Directorate of Operations. Specializing in counterterrorism and counterintelligence, Michele worked in Iraq as well as other secret Middle Eastern locations. To date, Michele has lived in 6 countries in the Near East region and traveled to more than 40 others. She is now an author, public speaker, trainer, international security consultant focused on the Middle East, North Africa, and Europe. She holds a master's degree from Georgetown University of Foreign Service and a political science degree from Palm Beach Atlantic University. And she and her husband, Joseph, live in Florida. And without further ado, I'm so excited to introduce back to the show, Michele Rigby Assad. How are you?
I'm doing great, Melanie.
I am so,
How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited that you're back on the show. And congratulations.
I'm so happy to join you today.
Listen, I didn't know until I went to do a little background on your book. Of course, when we talked before, the book wasn't out yet.
Right,
and
exactly. A lot has happened since then.
Right? That's
right. So the book was released on last Tuesday.
And it's already a bestseller.
Yes, it was pretty
exciting. I was featured on the Megyn Kelly show, and that was really useful. It really got out the message of my book, and there's been a really great response so far.
Oh, it is super. I'm so excited for you. And I'm gonna relate the brief story of when we met in person, when we met for lunch in New York City that day. And we have a mutual friend, Eden Gordon Hill, who's just fantastic, fantabulous publicist. And she's like, you guys should meet. I think you guys would get along. So we met for lunch in New York City, and she's a former undercover counterterrorism officer. And I'm like, hi, I have a podcast. So and
I don't know why you're laughing about that.
Because
that's a fabulous thing.
Because I'm in awe of you. That's why. I'm in awe of you and people like you who serve our country in such a capacity. And I don't know where we should start. Let's start with why you decided to write the book.
Okay, so yeah, I grew up with this idea that in order to have a real influence in the world, a real impact, you had to be from a big city. You had to have money and family connections. You had to go to private prep schools and things like this. And so being from rural Central Florida, I didn't even know what the opportunities were, for life and for careers and all of these things. And so I wrote this book for people just like me who are wondering, I'm such a normal, average person, but yet here's what I was able to accomplish when I allowed my faith to guide me and lead me on my path. And it took me to some really scary places, but I went anyway. And so the idea is to give people the courage to do the things that scare them and to reinforce the idea that it doesn't matter where you're from, where you're coming from, and even what disadvantages you might have had in your life. What's far more important than that is your passion and your grit and determination to just stick with it.
I love that. And it's a great message. And all of the reviews that I read on the book, I'm like, that sounds about right to me. Because the story, like you just said, is about so much more than what you were doing. Now, why that? Why undercover counterterrorism? It seems to me you could have, I don't know, got a modeling job somewhere. Because she's also gorgeous. If you saw her picture.
Well, thank you for that.
Just saying.
So I was involved in mission trips and study abroad programs, and they kept taking me to the Middle East. So I became really fascinated by Arab culture, and I did not know what in the world I was going to do with this fascination. But when I was working on my master's degree at Georgetown, I went to an information session that the CIA was putting on, and I didn't think I was CIA material. In fact, I was 99% sure I wasn't. But I was applying for every possible job. And to make a very long story short, I eventually did get into the CIA and, shocked both myself, shocked my family, shocked my closest friends. And then after getting into the CIA, pretty much dropped off the face of the earth as far as, most of the people that I knew were concerned. So, and I think a lot of people are still surprised, people who are now seeing me on TV or radio, I haven't seen you since college. I had no idea what happened to you, and now I know.
They must be just in awe of you, I would imagine.
They're surprised. They're like, you? CIA? Michelle?
Well,
and that's what's so fun about the story, is because it really blows people's minds, because it breaks their impression of what a CIA officer looks like or acts like. And so the idea is to say, yeah, we're actually normal, regular people. And then the other thing people assume is that you just have these loads of courage, you just must be fearless. And I said, no, actually, I was full of fear, but I did it anyway.
Say, no, I was afraid all the time.
Really, I was, yeah. But I pushed myself, and I did it anyway. And even in those, all those moments when I thought, I don't know if I'm capable of doing this, but I just stuck with it, and then eventually learned that not only was I good enough, I was actually a really skilled and really good CIA intelligence officer.
That's fantastic. Now, let me ask you. I said to the audience, because it's a money show. It centers around money, and I said to them, I said, you might be asking yourself, why in the world am I having someone on who's a former CIA officer, somebody who was undercover? What does that have to do with money? And I related to the audience that the United States spends $100 billion, $100 billion with a B, on counterterrorism efforts.
Yes, it's a lot of money. Yes, and there are so many, tons of thousands of Americans who are risking their lives to protect this country, working in the military, working in the CIA, the FBI, Homeland Security, and these are the people without faces or names that you don't hear about, and yet, they're out there every single day doing the best they can to prevent terrorist attacks from occurring.
Indeed, because I'm sure you were not, posting things on Facebook, like many of us do, right? While you're at work, hating life today, so and so just came in the office. I'm guessing your daily activities were not like that when you were in the field.
Right. In fact, I joke to most people that we would Google ourselves to make sure we did not come up. And so while the whole world was heading into greater connectivity and everyone was getting on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, we did the opposite. We were going underground. And so for me, this whole coming out, this breaking cover, this book is a challenge for me because it feels awkward, it feels uncomfortable, and so I'm still pushing myself into areas that feel a little bit strange. But it's to encourage and inspire other people, so it's most definitely worth it.
It definitely is, and it's even our brief lunch together was just such an encouragement when you told me your story, and I was just like just this amazing woman who does this. So what does that $100 billion, of course not in detail, what does that do as far as from a broad perspective for profession of our country? What is protection? I'm sorry, of our country. What is counterterrorism? And what does that involve?
I'll go at it from a very personal perspective, so CIA perspective. The idea of the counterterrorism mission for us means that we're to develop and recruit sources who have access to insider information, so we can learn the plans and intentions of the enemy. So hopefully we can stop the terrorist attacks from occurring. And then, God forbid, if we are unable to do that, to find out who is responsible, and then find ways to hold them responsible for those actions. So it's meeting clandestinely with sources, gathering that intelligence, disseminating it to the intelligence community, and those that can action that information, meaning members of our military and our armed forces. So it's a very critical piece of that larger puzzle. The counterterrorism effort is going on worldwide, not just in the United States, but all over the world. And so our piece of the puzzle is that overseas part of it.
I see. And it's a part of whenever you're I don't know how many people have gone through the trouble of examining our federal budget, but there are all these pieces. Most of our budget is in public and in great detail. But once you get to this area, it starts getting real vague.
Very vague and very murky, and probably the vast majority of the money it goes to DoD, and actually, it probably shocked people at the amount that actually goes to the CIA. So we do a lot with very little, which is really impressive. And most people never leave their jobs and break cover, so they're serving very dutifully in very rough spots all over the world, and will never get recognized as such. So I would like to just give a shout out to my former colleagues and thank them so much for what they're doing for us right now.
Excellent. Why is that many never break cover? Is it because?
Because it's a big deal. I mean, first of all, a lot of people don't have any interest in doing that, and the agency doesn't have to allow you to drop cover. I mean, that's a big deal to do that. So for me to get permission to drop cover and say, yes, I work for the CIA, was a big deal. And then, of course, everything that I write about or speak about that has to do with that job has to be cleared by the agency. Because otherwise, you have to protect that cover the rest of your life, and you have to protect that information the rest of your life. And so it's a burden that you bear, forever, of course, in order to protect the sources and the methods that we use in that job.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, does that make you a target in any way because you are former CIA?
There is an element of risk, and I've weighed that risk and decided to do it anyway. So yes, and I like to tell people it is risky, but my whole life has been about weighing the risk versus reward of doing various things. And so for me, it was almost a spiritual calling to share my story, and so that definitely makes it worth it.
That makes a lot of sense. It just occurred to me. I'm like, I would imagine that someone somewhere would find whatever information you have valuable, and probably not nice people.
Right. Yes, there's an element of risk, but at the same time, I spent 10 years in war zones and places that were considered kidnapping and carjacking capitals of the world, running around with, we knew Al-Qaeda was in the streets, all around where we lived, car bombs going off, being shelled every day in Baghdad. So this, in comparison with that life, seems much more, it's not as much of a risk as what I've already faced in the field.
For sure. And elaborate on that, because, we're not talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we're not talking about you, putting on a regular, pantsuit and, and strolling into a nice office building with your Prada bag and your Coach work bag. That's not how it went down with your work day. How was your work day? As much as you can tell us.
It was crazy. I say in the book, and I tell everyone very clearly, I will probably never work as hard as I worked for the CIA. The hours were crazy. We would work, oh my goodness, 10, 12, 14 hours a day. We worked weekends. We worked holidays. You hardly see your family maybe once a year, once every other year, depending on where they live. It's an incredibly demanding lifestyle because you're not dealing with things like, I don't feel like doing that right now. It was, life and death matters that had to be done immediately. You couldn't just put it off to tomorrow. And so that the kind of the constant stress, and especially in war zones, really, really takes its toll on you.
I would imagine so. And it's not like you're ever really off. I mean, when you go to the grocery store, and I'm sure it's not like running to the Acme, you can't strike up casual conversations with anyone, I would imagine.
No, because in so many of those places, you realize that you're the ultimate target, and you're living in places where there are a lot of bad guys running around. And so you're constantly, like you said, even if something as simple as going grocery shopping, you are looking for hostile surveillance, making sure somebody's not trying to target you and take you out. So you're never fully off until you come back home and you can finally relax like once a year. But that now you can see why it would just take such an enormous toll on you, and you can't live like that forever.
Indeed. And so the people that do, that just amazing dedication and amazing sacrifice that they make for the country.
Absolutely.
Now, I want to talk about some of the chapters in the book, just to wet people's whistle a little bit as to what is in the book. And you have to go check out the reviews on Amazon. The name of the book, again, is called Breaking Cover, My Secret Life in the CIA. Let me make sure I finish the rest of the title. And what it taught me about what's worth fighting for is the name of the book. And our guest today is Michele Rigby Assad. But I want to talk about some of the chapters in the book. Just so I'm looking at them and I'm going, the first thing that popped out at me was the chapter about not judging a spy by her cover.
In fact, yes. And so people are like, well, you don't look like a spy, and you're friendly, you're smiley, and of course it can be so useful not to quote look like a spy. So you can, that's definitely in my favor.
Right. I'm like, I was thinking to myself, well, that's kind of the point.
Right. know what was really interesting about that, the dynamics of being an intelligence officer in a place where you're dealing with guys that have very radical ideology. So you walk through the door to do your debriefing, and they look at you, and you are the opposite of what they expect. And then you have this enormous gulf that you have got to cross in order to connect with that terrorist, because they're putting their lives in danger by working with you. So they have to trust you. But what if they don't think you're intelligent? You know, as a woman, you shouldn't even be outside the house, and you should be covered fully in black. You know, so how then what did I do to then overcome these challenges and connect with these guys that seem to have nothing in common with? So how did I do that? It was such a fascinating process to figure out and then execute on the ground and be able to walk away at the end of the day with incredible intelligence. It was a real high for me, actually.
I would imagine so. How could it not be? I mean, particularly since, like you were saying, they're not exactly, you know, big fans of the women folk over there.
Right. Yeah, and so I had to really prove very quickly, very succinctly, early on, within 5 minutes or less of the meeting, that I was smart. You know, I just had to wear it on my sleeve and speak intelligently and talk about what, you know, the terrorism was doing to that particular country or to that particular village. Talk about that person in a way that resonated with them. You know, looking at their nonverbals very closely. Is what I'm saying making a difference? Is he buying what I'm selling here? And so using all these really interesting skills to make this connection and say, okay, I walked through the door, you totally looked down on me. But by the time I walked out the door, you have said, I like her and I want to work with her. So now you've taken your disadvantage and you've transformed it completely and you've turned it into your advantage, which is really interesting dynamic.
That's an amazing dynamic. That's an amazing it's an amazing dynamic. So what was it like specifically for you transitioning from American life to Middle Eastern life, just on a day-to-day basis? What?
You know, it was, thankfully I had spent so much time studying the Middle East, traveling in the Middle East. So by the time I was deployed for the CIA, I understood what it was I was dealing with and generally knew what I was getting into. But of course, even when you intellectually understand something, dealing with it on a daily basis can be a huge challenge. I remember my first tour, finally found the grocery store, and I was surprised there was even an actual grocery store. And I'm like walking up and down the aisle looking at what's available, different brands and what kind of food. And I had this weird feeling that I was being stared at, you know, like the hair on the back of my neck was standing up. And I look over, and the whole front of the grocery store is a wall of glass. And there are like 10 men with their noses pressed up on the window staring at me because I'm inside the store uncovered. And I was like, you know what? This is going to be a really tough tour.
Oh, wow. And so you didn't cover up at all times while you were over there?
It depended on where I was and what I was doing, you know. So at that moment, I was dressed very respectably, of course. But I wasn't completely, you know, shrouded in black. And, you know, that was very interesting to men who never saw women uncovered outside the family.
For sure. And without like a male, you know, escort.
Exactly. Yes, to take care of you and to mind you. Exactly.
That just sounds so, you know, just for you to, just the expression, I mean, for American women, sounds so crazy.
Can you imagine, right? Yeah.
No, I cannot imagine. Did that ever get you in trouble while you were over there? Like, did anyone ever bother you about that while you were there?
Yeah, there were a couple of countries where the men were a little bit more hostile. Yeah, so if they didn't think you were covered properly, you would get yelled at. So not just me, but a lot of my female colleagues. And God forbid you were anything but a white American, Melanie. If you're African American or Asian American, they would not even treat you as like a full, like in their minds, I don't know why they think all Americans are right. It's the strangest thing. And so my poor colleagues who were like Filipino American, they really suffered because in a lot of those countries, that's the help quotation, the help. And so even though these people were incredibly intelligent and doing amazing things for their government, they would be belittled on the streets by the locals.
Well, that's not.
And then
That's
if they
not
were
good
uncovered,
news.
then they really got it,
That's not good news for me. Like I'm thinking in other countries we're like in awesome shape, and you're saying not so much. I'm kidding.
No, it's really tough. And so I like to tell people, like, you can't help what somebody thinks about you. Like, they have their own preconceived notions of who you are and what you're capable of doing. And so many of us in the United States and abroad have to then adjust to that and say, okay, this sucks, it's not ideal, but I have to figure out a way to overcome it, and it is possible.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. Okay, listen, we're up against a break. When we come back, I want you to talk about what you think is probably your most, you can pick like your most terrifying experience, your most rewarding experience, your best experience, however you want to frame it, but something that you really want us to know that's just unique about your experience. You probably have several, but on the other side of the break, tell me. Okay, does that work for you?
That works for me.
Fantastic. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. My guest today is former counterterrorism officer and author of the new best-selling book, My Secret Life in the CIA, and what it taught me about what's worth fighting for. The one and only Michele Rigby Assad will be back in a few moments.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network. Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com. And maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcast. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch River Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
Hey guys, this is Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Check us out every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. And this is Sackhead Clint, is the best looking one of the bunch. It's my duty to remind you to check us out on our YouTube channel.
And don't forget to check us out on the SHR Media Facebook page. The best looking one? Really? You gotta go there.
Every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, right here on the SHR Media Network.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
This is Sam on SHR Media. You can listen to my new show starting on Tuesdays in January. Get my perspective on national politics, a conservative's perspective on California politics, The latest in the war on terror, all of that and a lot more here on Tuesdays at SHR Media. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Sam_SHR Media.
Dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke. Their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through SHRmedia.com, HighPlainsTalkRadio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EVL Radio on BlogTalkRadio.com. There's no surrender ever, because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics,
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
and all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events? All kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show.
And Sackheads BZ.
Wait, I'm Sean. No, I'm Sean. All right, listen, we'll figure this out every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Pacific, right here on the
Where the hell is Clint?
On the SHR Media Network, www.shrmedia.com. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube. Now, right back to this amazing show right here on the SHR Media Network.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Oh my gosh, we're back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. Those were my amazing bosses. The Sackhead Sean, and I still don't know the story behind why they call themselves that. But it's a bunch of guys, so I'm not sure I want to know. And and their shows are just so fantastic. I'm always listening. My show has more of a Christian flavor to it and things like that. So there's certain language and things that you won't hear on my show, but you will definitely hear on their show. And whenever I listen to them, I'm always like, oh, I can't believe you said that word. And they're like, yeah, our show is on 11 o'clock at night. What do you want? What do you want? So, but I love those guys. You should definitely check out all their shows. We're back with Michele Rigby Assad. And I asked you before the break, I guess, what was your most, let me frame it this way, your most extraordinary experience that you'd like to share?
Oh my goodness. There are so many to choose from. It's really hard to figure out which one to talk about, but there's one that is included in the book, which was my colleague and I had obtained some information, but it was very, we weren't sure how good it was. And this source said, one of my relatives, I saw a guy come out of a home, this was in Iraq, and my relatives own this house, but it's supposed to be abandoned. And I saw this guy walk out the door, and something about him made made me cringe. He looked like a terrorist, and he's like, you might want to go check out this location. And my job was to figure out, what to pass to the U.S. military. And at that time, a lot of the information coming in was trying to set up military for ambushes. And so the military called and they said, you just put out this information. We've been trying to find terrorist safe houses in the area. Do you think that this is good information, or do you think this is a setup? And they said, I think it's good information. And here it is, it's all on your shoulders. You don't want to put soldiers' lives on the line for bad intelligence. But I said, I think he's good. He's been a good source, and something about this feels right. And they went and they actioned that within the next 24 hours and got back to us and said, your source was so right. It was an Al-Qaeda torture house. And we actually were able to, there were there were six half-alive Iraqis who were so tortured that they probably would have been dead by the next day. And in the next room, it was filled with dead bodies of villagers who had gone against Al-Qaeda and had already been killed. And so this was a moment in which I was just so grateful that we were in a position to be able to get that information and give it to the military and like save these people's lives.
I'm a little bit speechless, which is not good for radio, but wow. So the information that you were able to pass along, literally saved lives.
Yeah, and we experienced that on almost a daily basis in Baghdad. And to be able to, be a part of efforts that you knew were very, very clearly saving lives because you found out the location of a car bomb before it was put on the street and set off and killed, 100 people, or the location of an IED, improvised explosive device, before U.S. troops rolled over that device, and lost limbs. You're like, okay, this is why we're doing this job. This is why we're out here. This is why we're sacrificing. There's a reason for it.
Wow, that's incredible. Now, what part of your faith, did your faith help you at all while you were out there in the field? And do you share any of that in the book?
I do share it in the book. For those of you not from a faith background, it's not like heavy, or it doesn't make it uncomfortable book to read at all, but I'm clear that this is the thing that for me got me through the most difficult situations. It's what helped me to endure what felt oftentimes like insanity in a place like a war zone, and it was often the only thing that kept me hanging on. So it is a critical piece of who I am and how I interact with the world and how I get through tough times.
I can't imagine. So I was listening to a sermon this morning, and what the pastor was talking about was how when it comes to our faith that we have to kind of unintellectualize it, de-intellectualize it, which my friend Celeste, who happens to be in the Facey chat, chastises me is not the word I'm looking for, but talks to me about regularly. about me trying to intellectualize God. And so I can imagine that you had to go through that quite a bit, thinking, okay, the only thing that's going to get me through
I don't understand this. It's very uncomfortable. I mean, there were so many times when I didn't want to be where I was. And I'm very honest about that in the book. I didn't want to go to Iraq. Nobody wanted to go to Iraq and the worst part of the war. And yet I ended up learning that there was a reason why I was sent to Iraq. So my unanswered prayer, getting sent to that horrible war zone and being involved in operations that were, often soul crushing, because you would see what people were doing to each other on the streets of Baghdad, how eventually what I learned in those difficult places was helping me to develop my expertise, and that God would use it later in my life to help others. So I had to trust him when I did not understand, and that faith was really critical in those moments when you say, like you said, Melanie, you can't over-intellectualize it. It's like, I have to believe. I have no reason to believe, but I just have to hang in there anyway. That's such an encouragement. I wanted to make sure that if that was there, that everyone certainly heard that. So when you finally decided that you were going to get out, well, I'm sure that was a process. Was there an impetus for that, or did you just, where you decided that it's time for me to go and do something else, or? So yeah, it was, a ton really, really challenging years, and I did a lot of praying, and I did in those moments, and I said, this is really difficult. I don't know if I can keep doing this, but I kept hearing, no, you got to stay. You're in the right place. You're where you need to be. And then finally, at the end of those 10 years, I felt this relief, like, okay, you can go now. Like, whatever it is you were supposed to learn or contribute, you've done that. And then the next I felt this very deep spiritual calling at that point to share my story with others to inspire them. And so that began a 7-year effort to put this book together and to get it out to the world. And again, a tough mission. It's really hard to get a book published, but I had to hang in there with all of the rejection and all the no's until you get the publishing deal. And so here we are at the end of that very long 7-year road. But again, it's worth it when you're able to share your story with others, help them see themselves in you, and have the confidence and courage to do what they're called to in their lives.
Indeed. So listen, before we close the show, tell everybody how they can get you to speak. Well, first of all, where they can get the book, and if they want you to speak, how to get in contact with you, that kind of thing. Your big pitch moment.
Yes. So you can purchase the book anywhere you would normally get your books. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Christian bookstores, online and various vendors, Target, Walmart. If you want an Audible book, that I've narrated the book, and you can get that version as well. Also, you can go to my website, and you can fill out a form there if you're interested in having me speak. And that's Michele, with one L, Rigby, R-I-G-B-Y, Assad, ASSAD.com, and you can get in touch with me or provide comments or ask questions. All that you can do from the website.
Excellent. I'm posting the link to the Amazon site. If anybody in the Facebook chat, if anybody wants to go there and check that out, you can click on the link and go right to where you can order this fantastic book. It's got a 4.5 star rating out of 5. Not too shabby there, sister.
It looks that way.
Yeah, excellent. And there's a Kindle edition. It's just fabulous. I'm so excited for you, and I want to thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you, Molly, so much for having me. It was fun as always.
Oh, absolutely, and I hope you'll be back on soon. Probably with your third, fourth book.
Excellent.
Thanks so much. You have a great night.
Thanks, Melanie. Bye.
Bye-bye. You guys are listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. That was the one and only Michele Rigby Assad. She's got a new book out, in case I have not mentioned it, called Breaking Cover, My Life in the CIA and What It Taught Me About What's Worth Fighting For. You definitely want to go pick up that book. Remember, boys and girls, we spend $100 billion in counterterrorism efforts, and people like Michele Rigby Assad are exactly why we do it and why we need people like her. She explained beautifully what it is that they're doing over there and why we need to take care of these people. So I hope you all enjoyed the show as much as I enjoyed doing it. Remember, all of this is very important because after all, it is your money. Have a great night.